We're gonna hope that this microphone works. Alright. Good evening, everyone. I just realized that there is also gain control on the, there is a gain control on the app that I'm using, so if this is coming in obnoxiously loud, please give me a heads up. Okay, say hi to everyone. Which button do I press? Is it echoing? Lame. Okay, there. How's that? No echo? Better? Don't mess with that gain control, Kennedy. The quieter echo. That's super annoying. How do I fix that? I don't know how to fix it. How about that? Does that work? Less echo? There we go. Less echo. Okay, less echo. Thank you all. I literally just had to switch it from one button to the other button. Okay. I think that countdown, obnoxious countdown clock is good to go. I'm gonna say hi to everybody. Okay? Ready? Let's hope nothing breaks. Hey, look at that. There's an echo again. I will fix, I promise. There we go. Okay, if they're still echoing, I don't know how to fix it. I think these are the same settings from the other day, so I don't know why it would be messing around. Hey, okay, echo's gone now. I can not worry about echo anymore. Oh my god. This is normally my sleeping time, everybody. But I'm gonna stream. But not before I say hello to everybody in chat. Now if I can just grab this window. Hey, there we are. Okay, who's here? I gotta scroll up. I gotta scroll up to everybody. Hello Ross, how are you? Marcus. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Manifesto, hello. Mona, hello. Nikki, good evening. Hello, Charles. Benjamin, I see. It's like reading Rainbow. Hello, Luke. How are you? Stone Monkey, good evening. At least good evening my side. Hello, David. Is that it? Is that us? Hello, Nolan. Good evening, Belle. Oh, I have to remind myself that I need to wrench. I need to wrench people. I don't know what that. I don't know how to do it. Mr. David Tran, how are you? Good evening. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Hello, Chauncey. Good evening. Hello, Stash. How are you? Jermaine, good evening. Mr. Ryan Wynn, good evening. Wrench is a good idea. Helps you a lot. Yeah. Yeah. 819, how are you? Ryan Barry, how are you? Catchy name. Perfect timing for this stream. Wait, I'm going to press this button. And this perfect timing for this stream. I just have to plug in my pencil to charge. Hello. Plug in that pencil. And then as soon as we, I think as soon as everybody is in, I think I'm going to give it another 5 minutes. I'm going to start getting to draw. And we'll just keep it as organic as possible. Yeah, you guys can ask me anything you want. And if it happens to be that I'm looking up at the time, I'll be more than happy to answer it. Otherwise, please don't take offense. I'm going to answer as much as I can. Just ask again. I have, and I'm going to share something with you. I have the most wonderful pimple brewing in the back of my neck. How's that for inaugural stream? All right, since everybody's talking about pencils. Oh, darn. Okay. I'm going to charge mine while I chit-chat to you because it was down to 15%. How's everyone's evening? I know you guys are all here to see art, but I'm going to give my pen a moment to charge or find my other pen. It's over there. Is that where the pimple is coming? Is the echo is coming from? I gotta press this button. From my pimple? My pimple is that cavernous that it makes an echo? I'll leave it to you. Look at that. Look at that camera. Isn't that wonderful? Like I'm looking into your soul. Look at these fancy lights back here. I'm keeping them like warm yellow, but I don't know how complimentary they are. Can I putz around with you for like 2 or 3 minutes while I mess around with these lights? Is that okay? You guys ready? Ooh. What does that do? Ooh. Ooh. Look at that. It's like Star Wars. Ooh. Pro streamer. Mm-hmm. That's so stupid. Can we just go back to the warm version? Yeah? Okay. I'll just go back to the warm version. That's so dumb. Okay. Good evening. Art Jedi, how are you? Good evening, Jason. Camera quality is looking snazzy. It should. Although, all things considered, this thing is pretty dated. It's about a 6-year-old, maybe a 7-year-old camera. It's still holding up okay. It looks like you're in a spaceship. Spaceship of my heart. I can't keep this up. This level of entertainment is not sustainable. Hello, Peter. How are you? Thank you for the suggestions on social media. How are you? I appreciate it. Hello, Omega. Good evening. Mr. Eddie Winkler, how are you? Did I congratulate you the other day for the momentum of your campaign? I want to thank you. Look, I'm going to look right into camera and thank you. Congratulations on the momentum of your campaign. That seemed personal or creepy? I have the chat here, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm reading off what I can. Look at that. I'm good. Currently trying to apply everything I learned on Wednesday: primitive shapes, lighting, perspective-less rendering, a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I had an executive producer back when I was working in animation, and he had this theory that he'd always give the new guys, the new storyboard artist, a very limited crayon box. So rather than unleashing the entire Crayola 100 plus set on you, he would limit you to 8, because he figured if you can come up with something pretty creative with 8 crayons, 100 something is just icing on the cake. And that is to say that if you limit yourself to as few things that you need to worry about in regards to your skill and growth and like sort of craft exploration, then everything else should just be icing on cherry on top, icing. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Okay. Can we start? Can I start? Okay, I'm gonna start drawing. I had forgotten. Let's see if this button works. Hey, fancy. Okay. I had forgotten that I reached out to IDW, very, very good friends of mine, or very kind people, but one specific person is a friend of mine in their editorial office. And I reached out to him if I could do a bit of cover work. By the way, if Jason is still in chat, thank you so much for setting all this up. Jason, if you don't know, is my very good friend of whenever Iron Man 1 came out. Not long ago. We've been good friends since then, and he is also my original art dealer, by the way. Small plug for Jason. If you have not gone to essentialsequential.com lately, please go do so now. Not for my art, but for everybody else's. I'm sure there is something there to your liking and to your budget. So essentialsequential.com. Enjoy. And if you can, buy my sketchbooks, that would be great. Anyway, so I reached out to Jason in regards to getting a little bit of cover work. He touched base with a handful of people that he knew in the industry, and I got some, but I didn't realize that their turnaround time was pretty narrow or pretty short. So when Monday this morning rolled around, editor said, "Hey, I'm just checking in, seeing how everything is going." And I had asked him, "Oh, yeah, everything is going fine. When do you need this turned around by?" And they said something like tomorrow, like Tuesday, because they are also bound by their deadlines, one of which is reaching out to the IP stakeholder, which is Hasbro. They still need to run this by them to make sure that everything is okay. So they're in a truncated time window as well, and getting it ready, getting a green light or a thumbs up from Hasbro, and then getting it ready for print. So I kind of scrambled today and rendered up this one, which is the one that they picked of the 3 thumbnails that I did. So I think I'm in a good... I thought this morning when I was planning what I was going to be doing for stream, I thought I was going to have to do some of the work while I was streaming and talk less Arc Athena, which is a little bit heartbreaking. But I knew I needed to get it done. I didn't want to let anybody down in as far as this cover gig is concerned. And the reason why I'm doing the cover gig, and I had spoken to a good friend of mine. I consider him a good friend, but who knows what he thinks of me. But a good friend of mine by the name of Jimmy Palmiotti. And if you guys don't know Jimmy's work, phenomenal. Like he has a legacy of just inking some amazing books alongside amazing partners, one of whom is the legendary Joe Quesada. But on top of that, Jimmy has turned himself into quite a prolific creative, and now he's writing an awful lot. Including coming up with a pre-production company called Paper Films. paperfilms.com. Anyway, Jimmy launches a lot of crowdfunded books, and to say that he is an old hat at it, I think is underrepresenting exactly how good he's become at crowdfunding. So I touched base with him and I said, hey Jimmy, what can I do for my campaign? And he gave me a ton of advice. As a matter of fact, I have a sketchbook around here that I took notes, the stuff that the insight that he was giving me that could be successful. One of the things that he said to me, and it kind of made me laugh because it was, what's the best way to put it? It was a little humbling. Jimmy has always ever only known me as the guy that he runs into at conventions, right? So, and part of my it's at some point in our conversation, he goes, so Eric, and this is probably not exactly how he said it, but maybe that's how I took it. He's like, so Eric, what exactly do you do? And that made me laugh because I thought, like, right, doesn't know what I do. He goes, yeah, I know you as a guy who's like, great illustrator and sort of like one of those artist types, but I don't know if your comic book work. And I thought, fair enough. So one of the things that I really glommed onto was the advice that he gave me, which is, if you can, reach out to a handful of like pre-existing mainstream publishers that are out there and ask them if you can do a little bit of work. And to the extent of, if people are not aware of what you are doing because you haven't done anything recently, consistently remind them by doing a little bit of freelance work here on the side, if time will allow. And I was like, hey, that's pretty good advice. So, like I said, I reached out to Jason. He in turn reached out on my behalf, and here we are. So there you go. I'm gonna miss this deadline very, very bad. Actually, I now that I'm looking at it, not so much, because I'm pretty close. I got hung up in, I thought I was gonna get hung up in a lot of the detail, but this thing went pretty quickly. So that's not too bad. The only thing I have to do now is color it, but also, hopefully, fingers crossed, Hasbro doesn't go too notes crazy with it. But because I'm so much further along, I think there's an opportunity for me to do Athena related work. What do you guys say? Cool? So, can I talk to you very briefly before I move on to Athena stuff about this piece in specific? The thing that I was struggling with the most, and I'm going to put a layer on top of it so that you guys can see where the problematic... Okay, so if you take a look at the scales, can you guys see that little red line? Right, like the scales typically, and I'm using a concept art brush, so this is like, the scales are like this, right? And in my weirdo way, I have a tendency to do these like offbeat scales because I didn't want it to become a repetitive pattern, right? So anyway, like the issue with scales, even if I'm paying attention to volume and form, let's take this leg for example. You guys see that okay? Here's the volume of the leg, right? Typically what you want are elements somewhere that help you understand, you as a viewer, you as an audience, what that volume entails. So conceptually, this tube, this cylinder represents the thigh. All of the shapes should be wrapping around like this, right? So you understand that it's in perspective and it's shaped like a cylinder. Now the issue with these scales, even if I were to do them traditionally where they're just kind of like laying on top of each other in a very specific pattern, that is betrayed, or excuse me, those patterns betray this volume. It was such a massive pain in the butt trying to like wrap it around this thigh so that you understood where this volume came from. So instead of that, the challenge here for me is probably going to be coming back in and putting a better highlight on this part of the thigh, right? That way you understand, and dropping a little bit of this into shadow, like so, or at least make it darker. That way you know, and that will help you understand that there's a cylinder for this thigh. Does that make sense? Now, the other challenge to this is that the light source is something like right here, right? And so it should be highlighting this. I'll take creative liberties. It should be highlighting this belt buckle, right? But then if I were to say remain true to this light source and try to come up with that really nice core highlight that's coming down the length of the cylinder for his thigh, this knee pad casts a shadow just like that. And that just screws up the volume all over again. So what I think I'm going to do is that I'm going to cheat. And when I hit this shadow, coming off of this knee pad, I'm going to wrap that shadow around the thigh like so. And use that as an element to help you understand the volume. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat so badly. Yeah, and there's still things I need to be able to do. So like, here's a mass. This is a there are a lot of things I need to negotiate in regards to an image like this, especially because the nature of the light source means the majority of the contrast, if the light source is coming down here, the majority of the contrast is going to be somewhere near his leg, right? Totally cool. That totally makes sense in real life. If I put a light there, that's where the highlight is going to be. However, in a painting or in a drawing, you want your attention to 9 times out of 10 to go to the guy's face. So I need to find a way so that your eye goes directly, well, not immediately, but hopefully there. And I don't know what the solve is yet. One possible solve, as I'm already sort of building the plan in my head when it comes to taking this thing to a finish, is that I may take this leg. I could do it right now, actually. Here, rather than I can comp it in copy, paste. Blur. I'm going to blur that leg later on. That way it's coming to you, towards camera, and it's as if the focus of the lens is like really super shallow. Well, not really shallow, really super deep, right? And so it's dropping, it's going out of focus, it's racking focus on that front leg. So that really helps to push that thing forward, right? Yeah, I think that's a good solve. I won't do the blur right now, I just wanted to show you guys because I still want to be able to color it first and then apply all the blur effects after. Yeah, that kind of works. Did I miss everybody in chat? I'm going to say hi one more time and then I'm going to get to work and we're just going to chit chat. Is that okay? What did I miss? Hey, there's my good buddy, Michael DiNicola, the guy who got me started on the whole streaming thing, and I do appreciate him being here. My first stream, and he's here in support. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. This is a stream I've been waiting for years. Thank you, TJ. How are you? Thank you for being here. Thank you for waiting years. Can't stick around for long because I got school tomorrow, but have fun with the stream. Thank you for dropping by, man. Thank you. Hello, Ben. Those scales are awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Hello, William C. How are you? Did I already say hello to you, Oz? Good evening. Trinity, how are you? You could also place a lighter tone in the background behind his head so the eye naturally gravitates to it. Yes, and that's the other thing. There's a, I can turn off this layer and I can show you what the sketch looks like under. The looks like that. See? So there is going to be sort of like a throne / cobra statue element behind him. So that will help pop his head forward. But that's a good piece of advice. Thank you. Hello, Jaro. How are you? Paul Anthony, how are you? I like this guy's icon, but I also like the fact that he said wrong chat. You gotta respect that a little bit. Hi, Frog. How are you? Okay, Athena time. I think I made some pretty good headway, but they won't be too pissed at me. Let's go. I would consider him I would consider him my friend, right? But Rob Arnold has a book called Replicator that's coming out, or is actually being fulfilled, if not, or is being funded, currently funded. Is the campaign over? I don't remember. Forgive me, but you can find it under Replicator at Indiegogo. But I took a pass on his character, and it looks like this. I am just obsessed with like stupid uplighting. He has one of those characters called I believe to be an iconic character called Ghost. Her design looks pretty dang awesome. I know nothing about her at all, but just looking at her makes me I reminisce about Metal Gear Solid, which is a favorite game and franchise of mine. So when I saw her, I was like, oh man, that's gonna be so much fun to draw and render. Now here's the part that kicked my butt. This little area around her like helmet, I looked through the reference material that was available online and I could not figure it out for the life of me. So whomever it is that the artist is drawing that book, respect to them, because they got that shit on better lock than I do. Quick question, were you inspired by John Buscema at all? A lot of your sketches have the same feeling as his. I wouldn't say so. I mean, I have a high level of respect and regard for his art, but I wouldn't say that I was influenced by them all that much. Only much later, as a matter of fact, did I discover their work, and not so much that I incorporated it into what I did. But good work altogether, and thank you for the comparison. That's awesome. Has Rob seen this? Yeah. I show it to him behind the scenes. I'm like, hey, what do you think? And Rob, he's just like, yeah, cool. That's the word Rob accent. Worst Rob accent in the world. All right, I gotta get to work. Where am I? Have I previewed everything to you guys that I could preview? I did it the night before, right? Maybe there's people in the night previous that didn't get a chance to see any of this stuff. Did I tell you guys I'm working on a statue? Yeah? Okay, seriously, I gotta get to draw. What am I working on next? All right, pages. Any newer color? Are you talking about for Athena? Do you want to see Athena colored pages? Sweet dreams, sweet friends. Eric, a great job so far. Have a good rest of your stream. Thank you, Nikki. You are wonderful. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you, Benjamin. All right, we don't want to spoil it for everybody, right? We don't want to we don't want to spoil the entire book for everyone, unless you guys really want to spoil the book for everyone. I don't know, I gave a warning on that stress test stream that as I'm working on this stuff, it potentially could be pretty spoilery, So I'd feel bad for those of you who are all about, getting into the books, getting into the series with sort of a fresh pair of eyes. I'd feel bad about the idea of spoiling it for you because I'm showing off too much. There's really no elegant way around it. My motivation, one of my motivations for starting a stream is obviously building awareness in a community around a community of support for when the when the campaign launches, and then by that very nature, I have to show these pages. Now, the question is how much is appropriate, to the point where I'm not spoiling it for you. And again, heads up, I'm working on Athena pages. It may be spoilery, it may not be, right? So I don't know. Charles asks, are you going to do an oversized artist edition for your book? I'm asking and hinting to do one. No, I don't. Well, there aren't any plans, so I don't want to say no. But the current plan for Athena is to launch the campaign for issue 1, right? Have that close with all sorts of all sorts of tiers, obviously. There is going to be a version of Athena that is just all these kinds of pages, where it's all like, the pencil pages in an ashcan form for, I think, the first 48 or 72 hours. The first X amount of backers in those 48 hours and those 72 hours get the ashcan version of just all the pencils. And then there's going to be a tiered version in the campaign of just the all links version, along with obviously the finished product. And that's all we have planned so far, and a bunch of alternate covers that I'm going to be doing. So hello Jasper, how are you? You're definitely one of my biggest influences, and I love seeing your process. Nick, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Time is relative. Spoilers don't matter. Just give spoiler warnings. I would like to see all the pages. Okay, I don't know if everybody feels the same way as you do, so the best I can say is spoiler warning. Can we watch you do some coloring, please? I don't have anything to color. I don't have too much coloring stuff in place. That'd be kind of weird. I would have to generate one off the fly, and I don't know if that would be too time optimal. I have about an hour and a half with you because I tried to cut this off at 10 p.m. Pacific time. I am trying to get some sleep so that I'm not completely wrecked the morning after. So I would hope that I could work on something that's already sort of primed and ready to go. Yes, I'm excited for those tiers. Definitely backing it no matter what. Charles, thank you. Thank you so very much. That's so awesome of you. You're spoiler ready. Okay, here we go. It's late. I'm old and have to go to bed. Folks, the first time, I think one of the very, very, very first channels that I followed on YouTube, back when I realized that YouTube was sort of a resource for entertainment and also distraction as I was drawing, was a channel called Toy Galaxy. And I've become, I hope I'm not overstepping bounds here, Dan, I've become good friends with Mr. Toy Galaxy himself, part of the two-headed dragon that is that channel, Mr. Dan Larson. He's in chat now. I really do appreciate everything that he's ever done for me, not the least of which give me a shout out and an opportunity to be discovered by his audience by calling me out in one of his posts. So thank you very much, Dan. Thank you for being such a huge supporter of my work. I hope I can do more for you in the future. So thank you. Oh, by the way, if you're not already doing so, YouTube channel Toy Galaxy. YouTube.com Toy Galaxy. I'm awful. Hello, Dan. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. All of these look perfect for some old school. All of these look perfect for some old school watercoloring. I get it. You're saying like me doing it traditionally. Maybe. Not at the moment, but maybe. Toy Galaxy is awesome. Boy, howdy. Is he ever. Okay. Let's see if this let's see if this screen share works, shall we? Yes? Here we go. I'm going to try to see if the screen share button can actually go up. You guys ready? You guys ready for some screen for some screen share? Here we go. Let's see if I hit this button, nothing breaks. Cool? Hey, did that work? Did that work nicely? Okay, screen share time. So as by the way, somebody asked me if if I was lettering it. No, a smarter, more professional, well experienced artist is going to be in charge of lettering. A fellow by the name of Eric Weathers, the better Eric, I like to call him. So Eric's going to be doing that. I'll leave it to him to help salvage my butt. Anyway, so the colorist for this book is I call everybody a kid, but he in specific is a super kid. In contrast to me, his name is Giuliano. I'm gonna not try not to butcher his name. Giuliano Paratelli. By the way, if you don't know, he's also coloring Sovereign Wolf. That is Winkler's book that is currently has been funded already. Forgive me, I don't know exactly. I just know that it exists. I don't know what stage it is and being funded. Anyway, so I saw, I like to call him Jules because Giuliano's a mouthful. So I saw Jules' work on that series, was super impressed by it, sent him a handful of test pages, and the stuff that he returned back just felt really, really good for the style of story that I'm trying to tell with Arc Athena. And so he ran through all of issue 1 and was picking out sequences that he could sort of cut his teeth on because he didn't want to do it sequentially in such a way where he wanted to take the time to sort of get comfortable with it, right? So yeah, he picked out certain pages in certain scenes and in certain environments, and he would then bounce it back off. He would bounce it off of me, and then I would adjust. And it wasn't even huge adjustments. It would be like little nuances that I just knew that there was no way for him to mind read. As good as he was at mind reading already, there were still things that I was like, hey, adjust this, and as a general rule, let's opt for this version of rendering as opposed to this version of rendering, you know? Almost going to print here. Thanks for the mention. No, thank you, dude. And again, congratulations. Congratulations. That is so awesome. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to your team. Congratulations to your project. I know it probably was a super big challenge for you to do. I'm glad that you got near. I'm glad that you guys crossed the finish line in as far as the campaign is concerned. So, congratulations, man. I love that I'm seeing all colors, not just some. It's bold. Yeah, it was strange. Again, I had sent out the, and that was William that asked that. So I had sent out the pages to a handful of colorist friends, or potential colorists. One of them was my friend, and their approach to it was super good, like super competent. But the thing that was missing was just a gut feeling, a gut like look and feel to it, right? Like I saw it and I thought like, that's not doing the thing that makes me go like, oh, that fits the style and texture for the series. But Jules landed it pretty dang nicely, you know? Okay, so I'm gonna cycle through all of them. Ready? Ready? So like I said, Jules kind of picked out certain sections throughout issue 1, and I wish that he was here because the other night when I was doing the sort of soft launch, the stress test stream, he was like, Eric, will you show some more of the colors? And I was like, I don't have it on me, Jules, only for me to remember. Oh, he had uploaded them to a file. So yeah, I could have shown it off with him in chat, and he would have gotten all his due credit. But anyway, I'm just gonna cycle through them. The one thing, and by the way, I'll give you like behind the scenes commentary. There you are. There's the man in chat right now. How are you, Jules? I'm going to cycle through some of your images and talk to people about our early working relationship with each other. By the way, here's something that I cannot thank Jules enough. He is one of the most patient collaborators I've ever had to deal with. I mean, there are times when I'm just asking him for what seems to, if I were to step back, what seems to be just an annoying amount of nuance and nudging, you know? Like, the cool thing is the changes aren't wholesale. It's not like, oh, Jules, you totally messed this whole thing up. This needs to be, whatever. This needs to be brown or whatever, right? It was like, see, this, the page is great, but see this thing? As a general rule, let's start doing this now, you know? Which was great. And he's brilliant at it. Really, really brilliant at it. Look at all this love for your work, Jules. Look at all these people loving on your work, man. I wonder why this keeps popping up. Jaro says team jump. That's true. My initial conversation with Jules was in order to explain what the story was about. It was so much fun to see him react to the overall plot of what was happening, right? Because I was just cycling through, similar to the way I'm doing it with you guys right now. It's just slideshow. I was doing a slideshow version of where the plot was going for issue 1, and it was, his enthusiasm was so genuine that it made me feel good. Like, okay, I think this may work, you know. Are we ever going to get the ending of Run, Love, Kill? Not that I can predict. At least not immediately. There may be a version in the future in which I will go and tie as pretty bow as I can on that right now. But my focus has been trying to get this series off the ground, and yeah, all my energies is going to this. But I really do appreciate you bringing that up. I appreciate the support that you've shown my work, including Run, Love, Kill, and I feel really bad I couldn't take that thing to a finish, but thank you. Hello, John Amore. How are you? You can get behind that shot. Puns. Okay. As a matter of fact, now that John Amore is here, John is the one that when I got the test back from Jules, I put it in front of John, and John goes, "That's different, isn't it?" And he didn't mean it in a bad way. We just had like what's the best way to explain it? It was like an expectation based on the previous projects that I was on. But John was totally like, that feels good, right? Like we had a back and forth, like it's different, but it feels really, really good. And John is the person that, the artist, by the way, if you're not already following John on, supporting him on his webtoons called Urban Animal, please go do so now. It's such a fun ride. Truth be told, I've only ever gotten as far as the second season, but it is near and dear to his heart, and the story is told really, really well. So, webtoons, Urban Animal, John Amore. Okay, enough about him. So I put things in front of John, and I remember the first time that I was working on Chrononauts 2. John helped me find the colorist for that, right? Giovanna. Giovanna was a great. Well, it eventually became Giovanna because the original person that we had reached out to couldn't make the schedule work. Fortunately, we were so lucky Giovanna was available, and Giovanna took on Chrononauts 2, right? And so with this one, if you were to ask me who I would thought of to be a good fit, or at least, somebody that I'm comfortable working with, I would have immediately gone to Giovanna. Unfortunately, I think she's like slammed right now. Isn't she doing something like Something's Killing the Children? But she's slammed, right? And also, in contrast to looking at how she would have colored this book, I don't know if it would have been a good fit texturally, right? Like feeling wise. And luckily, Jules said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And what a phenomenal contribution he has made. Oh, by the way, spoilers. It's just gonna spoil everything. I'm just gonna spoil everything. Jules, did you upload that double page spread? Oh yeah, here it comes. Look at, that spread. That splash. When he was doing this page, he sent me a small little clip of it in work in progress, and I immediately apologized. I immediately said, like, I'm sorry, man. I'm really, really sorry. Because there was so much detail on the black and white of this page. I just said, I'm sorry that you have to go in there and render that shit. But he was game. He was so game to do everything. And then the bad guy shows up. Here's something, I think the most profound thing that Jules and I got on the same page about is embedding the characters in the environment that they're in. And a lot of that has to do with like local and ambient color. And as soon as we figured that out, as soon as we came to terms of like, we were walking through this, or we were talking through the scenes, and we were like, okay, that's in a red room, or that's in an emergency tunnel, and this is more in a starship that has like these kinds of colors in it, and blah 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 blah, right? Like as soon as we walked through that, it didn't take long for us to get aligned on like, okay, so the sort of like the baseline color is probably going to be this, And yeah, so like, and that's the other thing too. William C. landed on it. It's like in the past, Jules would saturate a lot of the image, and again, in just content. This is what an amazing professional he is. Like I would sit there and grab a lasso and just be like, this part right here, we're gonna ramp down the saturation, And man, he is sharp as a tack. Where he's like, I get it. Right? And from here on down, everything got progressively like more aligned and better. And like, there's times when I'm like, see this little thing in the corner, Jules? What does that mean? I'm literally now going into certain sections that ultimately won't impact the book. It won't impact the image all that much, but he's doing such a phenomenal job. So thank you so much if you're still in chat, man. I appreciate that. And I think that's it, right? That's all the pages that we were taking to a test. So back to me. Hey. That old bearded, I think he's being guy with the hand blast is already my favorite. He is freaking awesome. I wish I could tell you more about him, but can I save those things for the book? That way you can discover them and at least be like, whoa, that's pretty dang cool. What do you think? Okay, what page was I working on? Oh, this one. By the way, I'm going to, on occasion, look up to chat. And if I missed anything the first time that you asked, forgive me. I'm trying to make this, I know it's not going to be as productive as if I didn't have the camera on and just working on my own. But if you would bear with me, I'd love to be able to get a little bit of drawing done, but also hang out with you guys. So if that's okay with you, cool. Hey Eric, do you have a link for a sign up page or newsletter? Pete, you know, that's something I actually wanted to tap you on the shoulder about. Athena is not set to fund, or at least the campaign is not set to start until sometime in, like I said, end of December, end of August, beginning of September. And I figured I have a little bit of runway leading into that. So I was thinking, 3 months before the campaign, I'd open up the newsletter / this email sign up, right? And the reason why is because I think I showed it in chat, 3 days ago, of how I was going to try to, at the very least, incentivize and thank people for participating in that email, in that newsletter sign up, by giving everybody sort of like a there's a couple of ideas, but but at the end of each month for the 3 months leading into the campaign, at the end of every month, we are going to be at random giving away a miniature bust similar to those old school Marvel comics, the Bowen ones. Does that make sense? Because if I do it any sooner, then that means I don't know. I think it would just be fair if I waited 3 months leading into it, right? I don't know who this person talking is, but he's freaking me out. I was like, who the heck is on my call? Okay, hush. Who's in my call? This guy's really awesome. I like this guy. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you. I'm a scrub, but you still love me. You love me. Oh my gosh, this fellow. Even though I don't make no money, you've been there when the times. Shh, quiet. Okay. What was I saying? Before that guy talked into my ear and distracted me. Eric, any plans to do portfolio review live? Yeah, there is, but I don't want to set up the wrong expectation by sort of like, yeah, definitely on Thursdays. Maybe in the future, but there are plans. They have not been solidified. I know that's not a very satisfactory answer, so. Spaceship looks badass. That took all morning. There are so many distractions for me to do this morning, to deal with this morning, man. That's the one thing about trying to finish the series. Can you imagine, I am actively trying to not work on anything else. Or excuse me, not work on anything else, but like focus on making sure that all the pages are done before launching the campaign, right? Can you imagine what this would be like if I was in the middle of a campaign and trying to draw these pages and trying to do these streams and trying to get a newsletter, trying to get the 3D sculpts done, trying to design the 3D sculpts, yada 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 yada. There'd be so much on my plate. I don't know how I'd be able to do it. So Pete, you think 3 months leading into the campaign is okay? That's not too soon, not too far away. I don't know how creators, successful ones, can deal with like I said, streaming and doing all this extracurricular stuff and trying to get pages done. I don't know how they do it. It would seem near impossible to me. If you guys would like to know what I'm doing, I'm actually measuring this fin. Is this still considered a canard? Whatever. This vertical fin at the end of this thing, and that's why I'm kind of zoomed out a bit. I would hate that I'm rushing through a page, which I am notorious for doing. I would hate to rush through a page only to have to go back later and fix it, right? That would just be a colossal waste of time, so I'd rather do it now and almost go to a snail's pace in inking these, quote-unquote, inking these pages than trying to rush through it because I'm streaming and trying to provide like some entertainment value. I don't know if that's the word, but I'd rather opt for accuracy than speed, if you know what I mean. Spaceship looks badass. Thank you so much. Did I miss somebody walking into a room? I apologize if I did. Who is the woman in the bottom frame? Of this frame? There's a spaceship at the bottom of this frame. That might have been 5 minutes ago. Forgive me. Ross says, drawing made-up vehicle spaceship in perspective. How do you keep things consistent? The honest to goodness truth is, Ross, it probably isn't very consistent. There's a general shape that I try to adhere to, but there's going to be nuances in there that I know for sure I'm going to miss because this is my first time drawing. Like, if this was a vehicle that consistently appeared in this series, I would be really that much more determined to make sure that it was as consistent as possible. But because it doesn't, it appears maybe in these 4 pages. I'm not really getting hung up on making sure that it looks exactly the same throughout. There's a giant mech. I can show you pages of it, but there are these giant mechs that I know for, like, they're in almost every page in issue 2 or issue 3, and it's a killer to try to make them look consistent. I'll just forget things, really obvious things, and I think there's a reason why some of the mechs that I design are inspired by like old school Go Nagai, Mazinger Z, right? Like those old school 1970s anime. And I think there's a reason why they simplified them, because it's easy for you to draw over and over and over again, right? And have some level of consistency. Like new giant robots now, new giant mechs are just so painful to draw over and over again. There's so many lines and so much detail. But even under that same sort of concept where I tried to make them as simple as possible, I still miss things. So there you go. So cool to see you messing with the layers. Thanks, Frank Ruiz. Thank you so much. I agree. I wish more creators that I've backed spent less time on YouTube so I can get my book sooner. Listen, I'm not guiltless in that concept. As you're typing that, here I am sitting on YouTube. But what I'm hoping for is, unlike some of those creators that have built-in notoriety, they have an audience, they have a community, they have ongoing books and projects that have either brought them this sort of time and, the attention of the general public. Like I just saw what was I doing before dinner, or who was I watching? It was Dave Finch. Like, I was looking at Dave Finch. I was like, there's a reason why that core audience loves his stuff so much, because he's Dave Finch. He's a brilliant draftsman, but also he has the pedigree of being able to say, I worked on these kinds of books before. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, he decides to go into, creators' own stuff on his own. So that's a really, really smart move on his part. I don't have that advantage. I've been out of comic books, or at least in the mainstream eye, for a very, very long time. And so sort of developing awareness for my work, and then, like I said, the community for people who would come and, support me in my crowdfunding endeavors. That's one of the primary motivators for me doing this stream. But if it was at all possible, I'd just clone myself and be like, okay, this clone gets to draw the pages. This clone gets to stream whenever, and this clone gets to handle all the business stuff that has something to do with, like, designing for all the promotional material that we need to do. Like, those are only three hats that take up the majority of my time. And I'm sure somewhere in the back Pete is laughing, because he's like a publisher, so he's probably has like 10 hats he needs to sort of substitute in and out in any given day. But for me, it's a lot, because my brain is in trying. If it was up to me, I'd just draw exclusively. But I know the necessary critical component that is, outreach and awareness. So thank you for being here, but also thank you for your ongoing support. I appreciate it. Poncho Joe says, I'm curious, but what advice would you give someone on anatomy and proportions? Gosh, that's a big question. Generic thing to say is just study anatomy. But the one thing that I see, and take this with a grain of salt because I don't know what your style looks like, the one thing that I see in modern comics, and not very, maybe it's just because it's the trend, I have a tendency to go away from it because I find it to be super stifling and stiff, is that people try to land so much anatomical accuracy, then they may, and this is not to everybody, but they often leap over the cartooning part, right? Which is, drawing to me is not the capturing of life, but the simulation of it, right? There is, what is this Disney book? The Illusion of Life, yeah. Where they talk about squash and stretch techniques. And there's nothing more critical in bringing life to somebody into a two-dimensional drawing than understanding that squash and stretch nuance. Effectively, where you can put the appropriate amount of exaggeration. I think people draw really stiffly now because they're trying to land detail, they're trying to land render, not realizing they probably should prioritize your characters emoting. And sometimes you have to, and I can't remember who I was talking to about this, but animation, which is my background, you have to draw for people and this is somebody, a director friend of mine told me this, but you have to draw for people 8 rows back, right? You have to perform for them 8 rows back, which is like little tiny isms and like little tiny nuance and eyebrow shifts. You have to be that much more deliberate and able to sell that character emoting, and you have to sell that emoting to somebody who's sitting 8 rows back to the stage. That means you have to be a little bit bigger. I think that really helps capture life. Now, how does that refer to your, like, what do you do to somebody who's trying to get better at anatomy? I think you need to find a way, and to each person it's different, because the books are going to tell you what's correct in musculature, what's correct in structure, and what's correct in anatomy. What it won't teach you is how to make that person seem to inhabit the space that you're trying to draw them in. You're going to get, if you study those books long enough, you're going to get like shoulders right and head right and pectoral muscles and whatever, like all the stuff that people get critiqued at during conventions. But I think the more challenging thing to land is to make it believable that person is alive And that's what you're trying to do with. I would think that's if comics is your goal, if comics is your destination, then making these characters seem like they're living in the space that you're drawing them in is, to me, so much more critical. Dave and Meredith are entertaining, yeah, for sure. And it doesn't hurt that guy draws like a beast. So for sure they're entertaining. I was actually wondering if you'll be drawing that ship repeatedly, because holy moly. I draw it like 5-6 times at most, and I blow it up. There are things that I know for sure when issue 4 rolls around, I'm going to be drawing a lot of mechs. And I had somebody build me the 3D model so I can just position it in any way I want. You know, use the parts that I need and then draw in the parts that I need to change. So, good point, Eric. I'm trying to think ahead of myself. Need a clone for like cleaning the house and figuring out what to do for dinner, for sure. On top of all the other hats that any person can wear, there's also the personal family time that I know for sure I'm not willing to sacrifice or neglect. So on top of everything else, I've also got to do those things. Hockey, welcome back. How are you, man? Thank you so much for being here, Jasper. Really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Mr. Jim Cox, how are you? I borrow ideas. Good evening, Eric and everyone in chat. Thank you for being here, man. I'm trying to catch up. Forgive me. Okay, good. I can draw this ship that took all morning. What took me away from drawing this ship? It was something. Oh, it was that G.I. Joe cover. That G.I. Joe cover was like, suddenly as I'm working, I get up at 4:15 a.m. My brain just kind of turns on, right? Anyway, I'm sitting there. Okay, now I get to work on these pages for Athena. It's going to be so much fun, and I'm looking forward to just getting done with this ship. Not because it's a headache, but it is a headache, but because I was really looking forward to drawing it, right? And I get the email sometime around appropriate. I was going to work on it pretty much all day, this page, and maybe another one, if time would permit, speed would permit. But like, I get the email at business hours going like, how are you doing? How is that G.I. Joe cover coming along? And I was like, oh, poop. How is it coming along? Not that I forgot it, but I had neglected to, and this, the onus is on me, but I'd neglected to touch base with them in as far as like when they wanted the delivery for that thing to be, right? So when they said, in a couple of days, because they still need to check in with the IP stakeholders, effectively Hasbro, to make sure that it's okay and it's good to print. That's when I had to shift gears and be like, oh, right. Let me go into drawing G.I. Joe mode, But now I'm back to this. And I think that fire is, for now, somewhat tempered. And I can get back to drawing G.I. Joe. But I figured if I'm going to start streaming for the sake of bringing awareness and hype, forgive the term. I'm not young enough to be able to pull off that word. But awareness and hype for Athena, I'd better work on Athena related stuff, right? That only makes sense, right? So this box, this, what would you call this? This missile pylon launcher, whatever. It falls directly in the vanishing point in the horizon line, which is right behind here. So there's no way for me to make it look convincing, or I refuse to just draw it like as a square, because you're looking directly down the length of its body. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and add dimensionality to it, but otherwise that thing would just be a square sitting. That's poor planning. Forgive me. That's showing up okay on screen. Should I be working like closer to down here? So you're not just seeing the edges? Now the thing that I also catch myself doing a lot, see this little tick right here? That's so super annoying. Because that tick isn't caused by the pen, it's caused by my fat fingers trying to manipulate the canvas. As I'm swinging the, or excuse me, I'm using the pinch and zoom feature. Off to bed, want to pop in, see the magic for a minute. So stoked you're working on a comic project. Thanks for sharing and being genuinely awesome. Thank you, Eric Jimenez. Thank you, thank you. Just popped in to say hello. Need to go. Early night. I work early night. Okay, right on. Thanks for being here, man. With today's technology, it's too easy being ultra realistic with art, but style, feelings, and mood, it's hard to teach. Yeah, I think, and if I may be so bold, I think a lot of it comes from, there's a lot of factors. One of which is like, hey, people are looking out into the geography of who's getting hired, and you want to maximize employability. And if you're drawing some weird style that isn't applicable to, company X, Y, and Z, then that doesn't make much sense. There's no business in doing that. So that makes for very smart business sense to do a style and look of something that for sure is gonna, have editors look at your work, right, and basically making you that much more employable. The other thing is that I don't know how to say this best, but I think people who look towards other people's styles that are well established, on top of the idea of being so much more easy to employ, right, for a potential publisher, right, is also they think that just by adopting that style, a lot of that style has been worked out for them already. So it's easy to copy and go like, I'm going to apply it to whatever it is that I'm working on. And that's really a tragedy, because some people who take somebody's style and apply it onto their own never went to the trouble of understanding why that person is rendering that way. Does that make sense? A lot of people just do it and go like, oh, it's a sticker. I'm now going to look like this artist, one of my favorite artists, because my favorite artist does this. I'm just going to take all the work that they had done, cut and paste it over here, but they don't quite understand how to utilize it, And so I think that's one of the other reasons why people go into a style that's already, or excuse me, like a pre-established style. The third thing is when people draw realistically, and I've had a handful of conversations about this with artist friends. Realistic art has a good metric of pass-fail, right? If you try to draw if you were drawing in a realistic style, it's easy to know where you've messed up and then change it accordingly, right? So that you align it closer to what is quote unquote correct. Drawing with a more stylistic, with a heavier style, it's hard to understand what that metric is, right? Because nobody has established it for you unless you're aping from someplace else, which goes right back into my second point. You just take the sticker. Okay. Oh my gosh, did I finish that? No, of course I didn't. You guys, the only thing about I've run into the buzzsaw that is there's a rough layer. I don't know if you can see that on screen, but there's a layer that I literally put rough, right? I've run into the buzzsaw before I started because I was just so enthusiastic about drawing. I've run into the buzzsaw of like flattening layers as I went, right? And in doing so, I flattened the inks right on top of the roughs, and the absolute dread that I went through when I realized that's what I did, and I wasn't able to back up because it was way after the fact. And as you know, or you may not know, Procreate only like undoes X amount of steps. The dread that I went through when I realized that, and on top of it, I had to redraw the page because it looked like this, you know, rather than the final that should look like this, right? The dread that I went through. Oh my gosh. It was so painful. And 0% of that page was salvageable. Like, I couldn't take it into Photoshop. I tried. I couldn't take it into Photoshop and like adjust the adjust the levels or whatever. It was so painful and embarrassing. I have to go to bed. Good night. Glad I could catch your first stream. Mona, thank you for being here. You are so amazing. Thank you so much. I have to lock all my layers so I don't go spending too much time on the wrong one. You're right. 100%. Flattening inks onto roughs. I know that pain too. Yeah. It is one of those things where I need to walk away from the table and just go get a glass of water and just calm down. I get so upset with myself. Gotta pass out as well. I hope you all have a nice evening. Thanks for sharing with us, Eric. Thank you for being here, Frank Ruiz. Have a great evening. You could play with the curve and get rid of the blue lines. Yeah. I promise you, I tried. Stop making rookie mistakes. Those are the only mistakes that I have at my disposal, John. Rookie mistakes. Do I plan to stream multiple days a week? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when ideal days are. Truth be told, I just wanted to see if this thing worked. Right? I just wanted to see if this thing worked 2 nights ago. And then now the consideration is, how many days a week do I do this? What is ideal? And what is saturation? You know what I mean? I don't know. It'd be interesting to get people's perspectives on that. To understand, like, oh yeah, that's 4 days, 5 days out of the week is probably way too much. And also, and this is the truth, like, my after hours, I still stay pretty productive in producing these pages, right? So I don't want to take, and in as much as I really do appreciate your guys' company, right? I would hope that the idea, if left to a choice, you would also opt for me finishing this book, right? I would hope that you would also say, hey man, rather than streaming, rather than being online for too many days out of the week, is there any way that you can just, hunker down and finish this book? That way it'll come out and we can support you. I would hope that was something that you guys would rather opt for. Hello back, how are you? Welcome. Thank you for being here. Stream once a week. That seems to be that was the number in my head. Actually, the number in my head was like 2, and 2 was pushing it, you know? A couple times a week, yep. Eric, you've led me to so many good creators like Mateo. Thanks. Hey, right on. He is my brother from another mother. I love that guy. I love him. I think this is a great format, and I think you can even focus on drawing a little more, and we will still be entertained. I hope so. Yeah, this is really like, you know, if I was going to sit and just really focus on drawing, and thank you for that, by the way, William. If I was going to sit and really just focus on drawing, then I could have just as easily just sit and not turn the camera on, not turn the stream on, right? But I think a part of the endeavor, a part of this exercise is obviously to connect with people. And I would hope that I would find a balance while I'm streaming where I can get a little bit of work done, shift my expectation to I'm not going to get a ton of work done, just enough, and then also take an opportunity to meet new people and talk to the people who are already here. So book takes priority. Absolutely, Benjamin. Absolutely. Still it's good pop in every once in a while so we can see you're okay and not overstrained. Yeah, sure. Sorry, another question. How long would you practice every day until you got your style down? The broadness of that question, I don't know if I could answer it to any level of satisfaction for you. What you're asking is how long does it take for an artist to find their style? And I don't know if there's a good answer to that. I honestly don't know. If you were to have asked me back when people started recognizing that I had a style, the truth of the matter is I didn't even know that I was drawing any differently than anybody else. Until somebody said, oh yeah, you definitely draw like X, Y, and Z, and that's different from what's out there right now. So good luck getting your stuff printed. So yeah, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question well. It would be a disservice to you and your journey for me to be like, yeah, you'll find in about a year and a half. If you just spend X amount of hours behind a table, like, I don't have a good answer, I'm sorry. I'm so pumped to keep working through the night just because of this stream. Listen, I don't know how long you've been up. I don't know how long you've been drawing, but please, if I can impart a piece of advice, take it or leave it, strictly up to you. You're your own human being, but find a way to rest. If you're already sort of like burning the candles at both ends, please, please, please find it within your schedule to just like rest your brain and recharge for the next day. I do appreciate that you're here, obviously. I love the company. But somewhere in there, find a way to rest. That is a big deal. Long-term health, you know? Have a great stream. Have a great stream. Or have a great evening, excuse me. And thank you for that. Okay. Here we go. By the way, I don't know how many other people in chat are actually in the midst of producing their own book, but my admiration, my respect to you, folks. This is a lot of work, and you really had to be not just obviously like physically motivated, but also mentally motivated, because this stuff takes so much time and effort. Now here's the part, here's the part that I had a good laugh at, and somebody actually threw it in my face, and it cracked me up a bit. They're like, if Athena was any other campaign, you would be crowdfunding by now. You would actually be in the midst of like launching it, and just doing as many. You would be doing as many rounds in the YouTube talk show circuit, promoting the heck out of it. But somewhere in your head, and they were talking about my head, somewhere in your head, you thought it would be a good idea to finish all 5 first. They had a point. They really did have a point. Somewhere in my head, I thought it would be a good idea to finish all 5 first, but that plan really did come from a place of fear. I did not want to get caught behind the 8 ball, trying to draw these pages and trying to fulfill at the same time, and trying to promote, and trying to doing my 9 to 5, and we just talked about it earlier, that very critical work-life balance, right? So yeah, I guess I could have been crowdfunding by now, but then I wouldn't have all 5 books done. Now, the counter argument to, well, I wouldn't have 5 books done is, what made you choose 5 books? Like, why couldn't I just come up with like the 158 pager or whatever it is that's pretty standard now for crowdfunding projects? Why did I have to choose such an ambitious project? And the honest to goodness truth is because I just wanted to see if it could be done. Because I looked at what was currently out in the crowdfunding stratosphere, the crowdfunding sphere, and didn't see anybody or a project that was committing to multiple issues at once. And I think I've discovered why. Like, why don't they do that? And now I'm working on this book. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a lot of work, man. No wonder people only do 2 books at a time, or 1 book at a time. Makes total sense. But when I had made that decision, and was rethinking it, like, oh man, maybe I should just do 1 book. And I also thought, that's what everybody else is doing. That's no fun. How do I, at the very least, and this sounds almost self-aggrandizing, but how do I, at the very least, stand out? How does this project try to take a step above what the expectancy is? Does that make sense? Irish, how are you? Good evening. Okay. So I'm doing these brush strokes in the direction of the perspective, right? And the nature of this dry brush lends it to be to emulate direction, right? Like speed and motion. So that's what I'm utilizing it for. Is it easier, faster to use white than to erase? Is the white something that needs to be taken out before coloring? In what aspect, Marcus? Sorry, I don't quite understand. I started sending out my copies of my Kickstarter comics, Stomped, last week. 2 issues, a modest print run of about 200, still a ton of work. Yep. My respect, man. War 306, hey Eric, happy to see you back streaming. Thank you for being here, I appreciate it. Eric, is digital speeding up your process? Yes. If I thought that I was semi-fast before, I think that I am more efficient now, but more than anything, Phil, if I may call you Phil, I am more forgiving of myself in digital than I am in traditional, because I'm like, whatever, it's digital. Okay, this could probably be finessed a little bit more, and I'm trying to think of how to do it so that you can see, so you could see this detail in the back. So I'm going to come back and erase this and start over again. The wing is okay. This over here needs to have been rendered into layers because it's 2 pieces, right? So this needs to be lighter. This front end needs to be much lighter, but still be going generally in the direction of the vanishing point, like so, right? And then this back end, in order to help it recede, that can be heavy-handed. That can be super dark. There we go. There we go. Much better. Okay, what's next? Still need to go in there and erase that. Forgive me as I talk to myself. Is this Procreate? It is. Would you ever consider doing a few traditional pages to offer on your campaign? Absolutely. I think the idea is not to actually do the page, but a full marker render of the characters. I don't know. Is there value in like owning a page directly that's on that's directly from the book? Is that a thing? I didn't think it would be, but it's obvious that I may not be thinking of the project as holistically as I could. You know, if there is a market for it, like we're talking about, like what I'm assuming is like a super high end backer, right? Like a super high end tier. Maybe there is. I never thought of it. But because I'm in a digital pipeline, and by the way, I hope Jason's not in the chat anymore, because being that he's my art dealer, I'm sure he would opt for me to do more original art that he can that he can sell in the aftermarket. But I never really thought about it. Again, this is my first campaign, so it's safe to say that I don't know everything that I could know in regards to what backers are into. So it'd be interesting to get people's feedback. I'm trying to pay attention to time as well. I've given myself 2 hours per stream. That way I will not get caught up in just drawing for the sake of drawing. I try to follow my own advice in saying that I need to go get sleep and rest and do this again tomorrow morning, 4 a.m. Sorry, I promised to look up in just a second. All right. Hey, I'm looking up now. I didn't miss that much. You never considered using Procreate to make a comic? I went on above Photoshop. Like Photoshop works. Excuse me. What about a pivotal scene, page of the story, like a cool moment of a book? Wait, what are you asking, Bornder? I'm sorry, I may have missed it. Jar, I gotta go, Eric. Catch you next time. Stay safe, everyone. Have a good night, man. Thank you. Oh, you're talking about as far as a giveaway is concerned, or as part of the tiers for the campaign. That may be it, right? Or maybe a cover or two. I do most pages digitally, but do splashes and covers traditionally, so I have originals. Yep. Covers might be the way to go for me. Pages. I love getting a page from creator-owned stuff, but I'll back this simply because you are Eric, and that's kind. That's very kind. I'm borderline in tears watching this. You have such incredible talent. Thank you so much, Peter. I appreciate that. Having lunch in this part of the world while watching your stream. Thank you so much, Renan. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. How do you get all the motion lines to go the same way? I didn't see a ruler tool. I just got good, buddy. It's luck, John. It's absolute luck. Although look at this straight line. Look at that straight line out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what layer that's on. There, it's on this layer. I think that's good enough for now. I think if I sit here and think about it too much, I'll end up overworking the page, and that's no good for me. Okay, so let me just a tiny bit more, like, and I can call it. Okay, cool. One last panel. John, there was no rule tool or like a snap tool. I just did it on gut, man. Okay, done. Flatten. Merge. Hey. Let's get those clouds going. I have like 10 minutes. Or so. Let's see if I can finish this panel in 10 minutes. Or I might just start winding down early, because I don't want to rush. Can I tell you, this is the first time in a long time. Well, that's a lie. I actually enjoyed myself very much with Chrononauts, but I was just about to say this is the first time in a long time that I really enjoyed the process of drawing comic book pages, which I had not done previously for such a long time, not including Chrononauts, because like I said, I had an amazing time working on that book with Mark. But I think that's the reason why whenever I say to myself, oh, I have 10 minutes, and somewhere in the back of my head, it's almost this, I don't know, this weird urging for me to like, oh, I got to get as much done as I can in 10 minutes. And I have to stop myself because that's not fun. It's just like drawing for sport, and that's not fun. I really do enjoy the process of drawing these pages. There are times when I'm tired, obviously. There are times when I'm like, man, I'm exhausted from the day previous, and I feel like I'm not going fast enough. But rarely does that stick around, and that's a real testament to, I think I'm doing things correctly, because it rarely feels like a chore. Again, when I'm tired, and let's say I didn't eat well during the day or the day previous, and I'm starting to feel the impact of poor diet choices, then it feels like labor, but that's rare to happen. That sucked. Let's try that again. If Jules is still in the chat, I'm just going to ask him to save me on this page, or on these clouds. Sometimes it seems so clear, and then you realize, wait, maybe I didn't do the underdrawing correctly. Let me go fix that now. I just kind of quickly rough something in without paying attention to how it looks like detail-wise, right? Like you're using all of these details, all of these diagonal lines that represent like the clouds that this airship is zipping through, right? You're using it as a compositional element. You're not just drawing it for the sake of drawing. Obviously, it pulls double duty by laying down some level of perspective and depth, right? Because you have all of these clouds kind of receding further and further into the background. But the idea is to do it as if you were laying down a perspective grid, by which these lines will get closer and closer the closer they get to the horizon line back there. So I think that's why it wasn't working for me. It was just a jumbled mess that wasn't doing either being a compositional element, nor a like a subliminal element that helps you understand perspective. There we go. Hey, much better. Yeesh. Take longer. Virginia Critchfield, enjoying the stream while working. Been great content so far this year, Eric. Virginia, how are you doing? You are an amazing illustrator and artist, and thank you so much for always making time for me back when we used to work with each other. I cannot thank you enough for your kindness, but also for the inspiration. Thank you for being here. It always makes me feel good when friends are hanging out, people whom I've actually met in real life, and they find time out of their day, and they're all busy professionals, but they find time out of their day to come and hang out and say hello. That makes me smile. It makes me feel good. may I ask you, for those of you who have experience in the crowdfunding sort of atmosphere, geography, whatever you want to refer to it as, has there been books that have been consistently been put out month in and month out? Is that a thing? Have people tried that? Because I really want to help to fulfill that concept, if I can. I've seen a lot of books that do like maybe every few months or so, but rare, or actually never, have I seen projects that are like back to back to back to back. And actually that's a point of conversation that I had with a friend of mine in regards to backer fatigue. And I want to get your guys' input, right? Which is like, if I release Athena I am going to release Athena in 5 chapters, 5 volumes, 5 books, what have you. But I'd spoken about backer fatigue. That was part of the conversation. Like, are people going to be tired of, month in and month out backing this book? And I am hoping not, but it is food for thought. Because I don't know if anyone out there has ever done it, right? It would bring me a bit of comfort to learn that somebody has, but also like, I'd want to go tap them on the shoulder and ask them how they did it, the pitfalls of it all, pick the brain of the person or people who have done it and have done it successfully. I also tell you what I like about YouTube versus like Twitch. Nothing saucy or anything, nothing spicy or anything, but I really like the fact that I don't have to think about what to do after I sign off. I can literally just sign off and be like, all right, you guys, thank you very much. We will see you again whenever. Twitch, I would have to think about like, okay, so who do I raid? Who's out there? All the niceties of it all, like the protocol, right? All the courtesies of it all. And I'm a jerk. So I didn't want to think about it. I was like, okay, I'm done streaming. Oh wait, I got to think about all the nice things that I can do. I'm just kidding. But it would, nearing the end of my streams, it would be in the back of my mind to think about, okay, let's go look for somebody who we can raid, because that's the right thing to do. That's the community thing to do. But I'll tell you, it's kind of liberating. Until YouTube introduces their raid feature. I think my buddy Michael DeNicola just talked about that during his stream earlier. By the way, if you're not following, see, I'm doing Twitch stuff. If you're not following Mike already on his YouTube channel, please do so. Super awesome guy. Well, Biggs, how are you? I want to be able to say hi to everybody as people walk in. So, monthly, I don't think I've seen that. Most crowdfunding goes for weeks and weeks. I think the downside to monthly is delivery cost mount up. I think I am mentally, emotionally, psychologically preparing myself for the delivery costs. So, Michael T, hello, how are you? Peter, isn't it time for you to go? Yeah, it's getting close to that, but I'm kind of into this, I'm kind of into this panel. I got one more thing that I accidentally landed on, but I think it may really help land the speed of it all. So I'm going to try it, and if it doesn't suck, I'm going to keep it. We ended up putting out a survey to our community to see what cadence they wanted content to come out. and was surprised that it was slower than we thought. Interesting, interesting. You always enjoyed rating my channel though, right? I'm weighing it in my head what it would cost for me to tell a little white lie and say yes. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Black Rose, how are you? What's news? Okay, I'll give myself another 20 minutes. I'm really into this panel. Okay, let's see if it works. Huh. I'd always found it endearing whenever people say hail. I think I'm okay with it. Okay, if this sucks, I can always take it out. Because, you know, layers. Androtaz, how are you? Thank you for visiting. Really appreciate it. Oh my gosh, did I finish that panel? Turning on and off elements. You know what's stupid? Is that, what do you call it? Procreate catches all of this in its recording software, or in its native recording. And so because it's doing it, because it's recording it, but also plays it back at time lapse, it's the funniest thing you'll see. All right, I'll sleep on those lines for a bit and see what they'll look like to me tomorrow morning. But I'm looking at it on this screen to see if it's holding up okay. All right. I think that should be it for tonight, no? Like I said, Jules is probably going to need to come in there and really, really help me push those clouds to the far background. So, Jules, thanks ahead of time, and also sorry ahead of time. Okay, so the image that I finished the other day, actually I was working on it during the the stress test stream, right? I gotta stay a little bit longer for Bernie. Bernard Chang, you are exemplary. You are the guy that my level of admiration for you doubled the day that I realized you use a technical pen and shape your line to have line weights. I already admired you as an illustrator, but my appreciation and respect for you doubled when you told me like you used some super thin, it wasn't a rapidograph, but it was a tech pen, and you built your line. So you crazy insane person, thank you for setting the example. I really appreciate it. Eric, did I hear you right a while ago on Corey's stream when you said you did character design for Killer Instinct? Yeah, when they launched, this is way back when. This is like history. And I had completely forgotten about it until somebody brought it to my attention that they released an art book for Killer Instinct. But yeah, when they relaunched the Killer Instinct game on Xbox, is it Xbox One? Is one of the premier titles that they had on there. I'd forgotten that I did the character designs for it, along with a group of people who really did help to refine and shape the characters that I had turned into what ended up in the video game. So I'm in no business of taking full credit for it, because there's a group of very, very talented artists and programmers, animators, and everybody else who made that game look as slick as it did. But yeah, I was part of the team that helped design Killer Instinct. What sucks is I don't know if they're associated with the studio that published, and it eventually fell under the umbrella of Microsoft. But there was a studio that was in charge of doing all the Killer Instinct pre-production. Anyway, they released a book, and a lot of my designs were in it, but I don't know if I was given credit, and I was just like, that sucks. All my drawings are in this book, but nowhere in here does it say my name. But I also took it as like, well, maybe the reason is because how do you start giving credit to just one person when a whole group of people help to bring the thing to life, and to help to make it as successful and as well received as it was. The other part of me is like, hey, but that's my art. So it's weird. I don't know. I'm not thinking about it. I'm just glad I got a chance to do it. I was very, very happy to work with that team. They were all so accommodating to me. And I think there was just so much enthusiasm because they knew it was going to premiere on Xbox One. They knew it was one of the games that was going to go out the door. And they knew there was it's a fan favorite, right? So I was caught up in all of that excitement and enthusiasm. And I really liked working on it. Okay, so here's the page that I finished previous. This cockpit took forever. Or excuse me, this this holding area took forever. But I also like, and I think, who was it? I think they had left already. They exited earlier. I think they wanted to go to sleep. Like, landing anatomy is important. Obviously it is. Landing anatomy that looks believable. Obviously, that's that skill needs to be crafted and honed. But what I was trying to explain was that sometimes proper anatomy gets in the way of naturalistic acting, right? And I have a tendency to lean towards that more, to have somebody or somebody's, the characters themselves, like inhabit a space and break anatomical rules, right? But have them be believable and living in that space. So that's why I like, squashing and stretching and making sure that people are, showing the appropriate amount of weight distribution, right? So that you are sitting, so they look like they're sitting in this space. So there you go. Yeah, that took forever. That page looks so good. Done. Love your lines and facial expressions. Thanks, man. Forendor, thank you so much. I heard Eric isn't wearing any pants. I am wearing pants. I'm wearing 3 pairs. I'm wearing 3 pairs of pants. What else did I show pages from this issue already? By the way, I said it before, spoilers. Oh, that yawn means I'm getting ready to go. I think I showed this 2 nights ago, but I'm wearing 4 masks. You are a boon to you are a boon to society. I don't know how Jules is gonna deal with all of this. I flattened this page, so Jules, I'm sorry for the zipatone. See what I mean? So when I pitched, let me give you a funny little story. When I pitched this story to Jules for Arc Athena, he was picking out certain things based on his fandom and nerddom, right? Like he'll see something, or he'll see the pages like, Eric, have you ever seen this anime? And I'll be like, no, I've never seen that anime before. He's like, yeah, there's something in there that reminds me of that, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That means it works. I'm totally happy about that. When I showed this page to a group of people 2 nights ago, they said, oh, that totally reminds me of a completely different thing. And I was like, oh, great, that's awesome. That's awesome that it's also that thing. But my point was, depending on what you're into, depending on your nerddom, right, you will pick out certain, like, Jules just said, oh, that kind of reminds me of Evangelion, right? When, to me, that page was my tribute to the diagonal elevator from Akira, right? And so when somebody goes, oh yeah, it kind of reminds me of this other thing, and somebody else will not even pick up on the Akira tribute, yeah, it's fascinating to me. Everybody sees their own thing, whatever it is that they're into. Can I tell you? And as fun as, as simple as these pages were, at least in their execution, the damn things took forever, because it started to become about like the acting and the drawing, that takes so much more time. You see that right? And I think I may go right after this. Jules, I'm really, really sorry. I wonder if it's better that I don't flatten all the render. I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be alright. Look, this name just cuts off my chin. Is it better now? A little name tag. That's ill placed because looks like I'm resting my chin right on it. All right, that's it for tonight, team. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I think I'll do this again. I don't know if it's tomorrow night. Maybe I'll make it every other day. So Mondays and Wednesdays? Let's try that for a little bit to see if that's sustainable. Otherwise, maybe I'll just ramp this down to once a week. That way I can maintain producing pages and it doesn't slow down anything. What's a good sign off? If you're not already following me on my social media, I'd really appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter under @EricCanetti. I know most of you already do. Otherwise, if you're not subscribing to my channel, click that little subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Helps my channel grow. And yeah, every Sundays I put up a video, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So watch it, thumbs up, thumbs down, comment. I'd appreciate that. Okay, cool. Have a great evening or morning wherever you are in the world. I appreciate your company. Thanks again.